What day? Shoot. I don't know what day it is because, I work from home and everywhere else. But this Sunday, like last Sunday, we was joined by a special guest, Dr. Flo, who explained a bunch of stuff. Today, we're joined by two extraordinary sisters. We're going to start off first with Sister China, living in Vegas. The sister is extraordinary. She kind of does everything. She feels like the jack of all trades, but the master of probably all of them. So anyway, yeah. How you doing, sis?
I am fantastic, enjoying this quiet time that that was given to us by Auntie Corona. And,
right. Auntie Corona, I love it. Right on. What is it? What has it been like there in Vegas? Like, is the strip just really quiet, or? Because I seen a picture of New York City and I was like,
okay, so our governor Sisolak did something unprecedented.
oh,
He closed the $1 trillion Las Vegas Strip. It's closed. Okay,
wow.
It's been closed for a few days, and he literally gave the directive and the order that every gaming machine in the state of Nevada that goes for Reno and Las Vegas, because we have two casino cities here in Nevada, Reno being a smaller one, but of course the international known Las Vegas Strip has been locked down. So that's $1 trillion industry here in Las Vegas. That's how our economy survives mostly, is the hospitality industry. So that means tens of thousands of people are not working right now.
Wow.
That goes for barbacks, that goes for housekeeping, that goes for cocktail waitresses, that is the catering, that is front desk, that is bellhops, that is valet, that is everybody that worked on the Las Vegas Strip is at home right now.
Okay, so how does that work? Are they going to be giving y'all some relief packages, or?
And so our governor is actually doing an outstanding job. There was a call with the gentleman in the White House and all of the people, all the governors, and our governor spoke up and said, hey, you're giving relief to all these corporations, the airline industry, and all these people affected by what's happening. You have to remember Las Vegas, because we are an international city. We get people from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, he had to send, like I had to drive down to the Strip. I had family in town, and they were putting them out of their hotel rooms.
What?
They're like, look, you're gonna get a credit. Okay, we'll see you next time when this blow over, but y'all gotta get up out of here. And so I had to get up at like 5 in the morning, get my family to the airport that was here, and just totally get them situated and make sure that they were able to get out, because there are a lot of people who cannot get out. We got people trying to make connecting flights to get back where they came from. So it was a little intense a couple of days ago at the airport and on the Strip, closing it down. But the amazing thing that I will say, the casinos have donated all their food to the community. So those large buffets with the crab legs and the meat and the prime rib and all the fruit, they boxed it up and they have literally donated it to the community to make sure that everyone in the Las Vegas area, not only the casino workers, but people who are not affiliated with the casino, have enough food. So it was a beautiful thing to see that, because we don't want things, waste not, want not. So we don't want those things to go to waste.
So, China, what is it that you do there? Because, we hear about Vegas and it's always like the Strip and shows, but you live in Vegas. So when somebody lives in a city that never sleeps and is known for entertainment, we never know what it's like for people to really live in a place like that. Like, you ain't at the casinos every day. Like, that's not, you live there.
Yes, I'm blessed. I've been here 20 years, and I've never seen a casino on the Strip go dark, not even during 9/11. So that's a little different. But actually, I am a teaching artist as well as a performer and entertainer. So a lot of my shows got canceled, and a lot of gigs that I do got canceled. So that's one thing that I do, is that I am a performing artist. So a lot of those things got canceled, but I'm also a teacher in the school system. And so our schools have been shut down. Last week was our first week being shut down. And so right now, we're setting up our virtual classrooms. so we can make sure that our kids are still getting the educational resources that they need. So the trick for me is figuring out how I'm going to teach a dance via virtual. So we're going to set up a virtual dance studio and our kids, and we're going to get it cracking. We had a huge production that my school was working on that we had to cancel. So the kids are a little bit heartbroken. But we're gonna make it work. Whenever we're done with this, we're gonna be our best selves. So that's what I've been continuing to, tell the children that reach out to me via email, that we're gonna do our best selves. So, with the teaching in the community centers, I'm very active in our community centers. All of our community centers have shut down. So that's a huge loss for our community because, as you know, Black parents work. Okay, so the children are up early and they're taken to a safe key or before school program.
Right
then
on.
they're at school for those 6 or 7 hours, and then they come to the community rec center for another 3 or 4 hours where they're fed and their homework and they're occupied until their families get home. So a huge resource has been taken out of our communities as far as community centers being shut down. And so work families have to be home with their children here. So Las Vegas is just like any other city. We have hospitals, we have everything that a regular city have, we have it. We just happen to have about a 5-mile radius that is internationally known.
Right on, right on. So with your performing, what kind of performances do you do? What is your, what do you do?
So when I came to Las Vegas, I was able to not necessarily reinvent myself, but become my best version of myself. So I write, produce, and direct plays, one-woman shows. I do lots of theater, and we also are starting a magnificent Black Film Festival here in Las Vegas that is done by an amazing sister, by Miss Michelle. So I sit on the board with her, and we facilitate the Black Film Festival, which too was coming up in a couple of weeks here in Las Vegas, and so we had to shift the date for our Black Film Festival, as well as the the NFL draft was scheduled to be here in a couple of weeks, so the NFL has definitely shifted that location for the draft. But just performing, dancing, my specialty is African dance and African culture. So when I'm in the schools, the young people are learning about the drum, the djembe, the dunduns, as well as where it comes from, in addition to African culture. So usually the shows and the productions that I do with young people is centered around self-identity and who they are.
Right on. What are some of the plays you've written and done? What have inspired those?
Just real life experiences. The one-woman shows, I never, actually, this is a funny story, I never really wanted to be on stage. I like to create. And so when I did, an amazing gentleman by the name of Ellis Rice called me. He was like, hey, you just moved here and you said you wrote, you did some things. Well, I had an artist cancel. Can you put up a show in like 3 weeks? And so I said yes. Needless to say, I didn't have a show written. So I went home and got a show written. And I was like, well, who am I going to get to perform? And couldn't really find anybody to perform the words. So I got up there and did it. And so the one-woman shows that I usually do are centered around women's issues, the things that we go through. I did a show portraying the life of a lady by the name of Maddie Davis, who is a combination of a lot of Black women that I saw growing up through the crack epidemic, and how she got through that and how she showed up on the other side as victorious. So it kind of just depends on what I need to say, will determine the type of writings that I would do.
Right on. You also do some rites of passage work. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, the rites of passage, is going into year 17. A sister by the name of Kianga Palacio, Ibai Tunu, may she rest with the ancestors, and myself started this program 17 years ago. We did not want to sit around and discuss what we felt that our young women should be doing. We wanted to be the example for what they were doing. And so we started the program. We went through a rites of passage training with the sister out of Georgia, Lillian Baptiste. We went through her training, and she kind of guided us through how a rites of passage should go. And then we started our program. And then about 5 years ago, I traveled to the continent with you,
I
Ro.
remember that.
Yes, we went to the continent, and then after you and I parted ways, I traveled further north to the Upper Volta region, and I spent some time with the Provo people, learning the actual sacred rituals of the rites of passage, and I brought that back here to the young people here in Las Vegas. So the rites of passage is, what we do. We sit in circle with young women from the ages of 10 to 17, and we nurture them on what it means to be a Black woman here in America. Because being Black in America is different from being Black in Belize or Black over in Australia or Black in Wales. Being Black in this part of the world is a different beast and a different animal. So we have to prepare our young women on what that looks like for them. And so, yeah.
What inspires you to do your work?
I wanted to be who I needed when I was 15. And so I just really centered myself around that. Okay. What did I need? What was I lacking? And how can I be that for a young woman here in the Las Vegas community? Not only the Las Vegas community, but just, my plan while I'm sitting here on this wonderful break that we're being given is to actually take the program globally. There are women like yourself all around the nation who are doing this work with young women. So I would like to take the secret, sacred ceremonies to those programs. You're already doing the work, but let's just join together and unite with young Black girls, across the nation through this secret ceremony, so they don't just think that they're just sitting in circle with you in Sacramento or with Javon or where she's at or with the other amazing women across the nation who are sitting in circle. They need to know that this sitting in circle is ancient, first of all. We've always sat in circle as Black women. We've always nurtured each other. Our aunties have always nurtured the nieces. The mothers have always nurtured the new mothers. And that this is not something new, but this is something sacred. And so my goal and plan is to unite all of our programs through the sacred ceremony.
Right on. If you're just joining us, this is Sunday Sitting with Sisters, and today we have the pleasure and the honor to be joined by our sister China out of Vegas. And right now she was just kind of filling us in on the rites of passage and her mission and what she's doing with it, which I think is incredible. Like, it's awesome. What can people do to join on with you, China, in this mission of the rites of passage, connecting them across the globe or country?
Do your part in your community. It's not about, a lot of people do things for photo ops, and if that's your thing, blessed be for you. That's not reasoning why I do the program or do the work, but do what you need to do, first of all, in your household, okay? Because sometimes people like to venture outside of their four walls and don't nurture the young people inside their homes or inside their family. So if you begin to sit in circle with your nieces and with your nephews, if you begin to sit in circle with your little cousins, okay, and then they begin to feel safe with you, they're going to begin to bring their friends to you. And then you can just start your own circle in the living room with the children on your block, the children in your complex, the children in your housing community. Sit in circle with those young people. And when you do that, the vibration and the energy of what you're doing is going to connect us anyway. Just like it did with, I didn't know Miss Rowe from a can of paint. Somebody said, you two need to meet. Yep. And what did we do? We email and we talk, and we've been sisters for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, more. Because you were doing the work, I was doing the work. Yep. Somebody saw us both doing the work and say, hey, you two need to meet. And that is what we need to continue to do as African people that live here in this America, is you see someone else doing something and say, hey, you two need to meet. And it's not about competition.
Right on. Okay? Say that again.
It's not about competition. There are enough children, there are enough Black girls, there are enough Black boys who need to be nurtured for everyone to play their part, okay? So don't think, oh, this is my program and I'm not going to share what I'm doing because this is my program. You're only defeating the blessing of actually helping the whole group throughout the African diaspora.
Right on, right on, right on. There's so many images, China, of, it seems like today, that's being pushed, but Black women are constantly in competition. That just seems to be something that you get to see a lot more of in media, and even in entertainment. I think one of the things I love about you that's so beautiful is that I think we have to break that down and let people know that does not help us at all. Doing
No.
the fake competition, or I just think that's something that tears us down. And we have to figure out, how do we undo some of this crazy stuff that we learned in this experience? Because some people really believe that that's the only way we could be seen or come up, is to be in competition. But I think that kind of contributes to why we struggle so much in the sisterhood, or to create more sisterhood, is that there's always this thing of competition. Are there things when you're working with girls in particular that you see that are reoccurring themes that you think hinder sometimes us being able to be together with each other as women and girls?
What I've seen, and the challenge that comes up most is the mother-daughter situation. I'm just gonna keep it funky. There are a lot of mothers who are in competition with their daughters, and that's very unhealthy. The young women, when the parents bring their daughters to us, and let me just say, this is not a Miss China program. There are amazing women here in Las Vegas who support the vision of Sisters in Society Taking Action Girls Rights Passage program. And I have to give a shout out to my sister Matisha Sudai and Nicole Palacio and Tawanda Locke and Yolanda Mertz and all the other women who have supported me over these 17 years to keep the program going. So, and with that being said, we encounter unhealthy relationships between mothers and daughters, meaning when the mothers drop their daughters off to the circle, they think that they're supposed to come in too. And I have to explain to them that this is your daughter's sacred space. This is a place where she's allowed to be whoever she needs to be, to grow and to heal. And I get a lot of pushback sometimes, not all the time. Some others are like, cool, I'm out. See y'all in hours, okay? Have a great time, okay? I appreciate those mothers. But then I also get those mothers who want to know what's happening, well, what are they saying? And I say, I can't do that, because your daughter needs a place to just be. And so sometimes the mothers have this thing where they feel like they're entitled to every moment of their child's life. And sometimes a child needs to just be free. I had to release my son and allow him to be somewhere else without me, because we as parents can be a lot, and the children sometimes, they always under scrutiny when their parents is around. When I teach my dance classes, sometimes I have to put the parents out. You paying me to teach your child, but you want to teach from the sideline. And so if you really want your child to nurture and flourish, you have to allow the village to embrace them. Vet the person, make sure that the person is a good person of good integrity, have good character. For sure, vet the people, okay? But then once you vet the person, allow that person to assist you with the growth of your child. So I found that the competition sometimes comes from within the home. And if the young girls are seeing competition amongst themselves and their parents, they think it's normal to be in conflict with other women. Okay. So, Ro, we have to realize that this is some people's normal.
That's real talk, sis.
That they don't know anything else besides conflict amongst other women. And so when they meet a person like myself, or a person like you, who's like, okay, how are we going to do this work together? They always think that we have ulterior motives. But when you subscribe to the belief that there's enough for everybody, that I'm going to have what I need, you're going to have what you need, and the next sister coming up is going to have what she needs, and that we're all able to create and grow, prosper, make this money together, there is no competition. So I think the best way to handle this is to be the example. So when you come from Sacramento and you have your van load full of young women, and then I come and they see us loving, working, and supporting each other in a healthy way, that gives them the opportunity to say, well, hey, maybe calling each other bitches and all this other stuff is not the normal. maybe what these women are showing us is the normal.
Wow. What do you suggest for women who did not get that nourishment when they were coming up? Because sometimes I find a lot of older women who, because in our community, sometimes we have this thing about faking it till you make it, but I think there's a danger in that, because then you can't be real that there's something wrong with you, or you know what I mean? Like, we really struggle with that in our communities. And what do you suggest for women who, is there anything that you do for older women where they can get some of that rites of passage, even though it's a little later, but they can still get it? Are you working on anything like that, China?
You know what? The ancestors are perfect, because yet again, here's another confirmation. Absolutely. The program is 17 years old. So right now I have young women who are in the first 4 or 5 years of the program who are now in their 30s. And so there are adult women, and they're beginning to have families of their own, and they're still moving through a rites of passage. So yes, the adult women rites of passage will be rolled out pretty soon. Just working on what that's going to look like for adult women, because that's a whole nother energy in itself, dealing with the needs of those women. So yes, the adult women's rites of passage will be coming out probably within the next year or so, just working those things. But to answer your question, a woman needs to first identify that there's a problem. That's for a man, for a woman, for anybody. You first have to acknowledge, hey, maybe I don't have healthy relationships with women, and where does that stem from? And once you realize that, you have to really get grounded in yourself and seek it out, okay? My mother died when I was 9 years old, so I wasn't mothered after the age of 9. So my entire life, I have always sought out mothers to assist me, because I knew that there were things that I wasn't able to be taught because my mother had made her transition. So you have to be very proactive and not reactive. Okay, I knew that I needed to be mothered. Okay, I still need to be mothered. So right now, I have women in my life who mother me, who are allowed to mother me, because sometimes we can be stubborn. And sometimes we can be a little bullheaded, and people can't tell us nothing, especially when we become grown. But, you have to allow yourself to be nurtured lovingly by your aunties and by your village mothers and by your sisters, by your big sisters. There are times where, you may see me doing something that I'm slipping. You may send me a text. Now, sis, you have to be open to those times when people be like, now, sis, you tripping, okay?
Right.
And be open to that critique from people, especially when it's coming from a loving place, and not always saying, she hating on me. Ain't nobody hating on you. Your slip showing. I need to tell you your slip showing.
Right on. That's so true, China. That's so true. So I think during this time of isolation, or I love the way you put it, like Mama Rona, or what, giving us this time.
Auntie Rona didn't sit us down. She said, sit down somewhere. Sit down.
I think in these times is where people's stuff will start to come up. Because there's something about being made to sit still, or to be made to sit still. That's when things come up for people. It's like working with people in the night. At nighttime, your stuff come up because you can't, you have to sit with yourself. Yeah, you got to sit with yourself.
You got to be with yourself.
What suggestions would you give for people who are in those moments right now?
So I put some stuff on my Facebook. I was like, this is a time where, you got to sit with yourself and who you are as a person. So I started this 30 days of forgiveness, okay? Who do I need to forgive, okay? And truly sit with why I feel that I was angry with that person, and sometimes we put expectations on people that they didn't even know they had these expectations to meet. And so now we sitting there mad at somebody, and they didn't even know we was mad at them about an expectation they didn't know that they had to meet. So that's a whole nother
That's real talk though, sis.
That's a whole nother talk. So I'm doing 30 days of forgiveness, 30 days of gratitude. I'm doing lots of journaling, working, doing those things for self, okay? Because, it's that quiet time, and you get to be with your 13-year-old self. You get to be with your 8-year-old self. You get to be with your 21-year-old self, and those, and those traumas and triggers may show up because we fill our lives with things and to-do lists and projects. And so right now, Auntie Rona is out there like, well, everything closed, okay? Everybody get in the house when the street lights come on, all right? And sit down somewhere. And now you're sitting with yourself. And what you're going to do with that time will determine how you come out. So we need to get grounded spiritually and emotionally, whatever your faith is. You know, if Jesus makes you great, go do Jesus. If Allah makes you great, go do Allah. If Buddha makes you great, go do Buddha. If African spirituality makes you great, go do that. Whatever you need to do during this time to ground yourself emotionally and spiritually, go do that in this time. Dig your heels in and get deeper into whatever it is so you can have some get right when you get down, okay? Because some people tripping.
Right on. Have some get right when you get down. I love it, China. I love it. What are some of the, you said the 13 days of forgiveness. I just shared your Facebook page. Do you share like inspirational quotes, or like how do you do that 13-day of forgiveness?
Okay, so for me, what it looks like is when I'm forgiveness, you know, you say, hey, I forgive my father for whatever. I forgive my mother, or for wherever you feel that how they have wronged you. Then you have to really look at that. How do you feel that they have wronged you? Okay, what does that whole situation look like? And actually write it down, because sometimes we keep things right here in our head. And when we keep it in our head, it goes around and it goes around and it goes around, and it becomes like our blood flow. It circulates like our blood. That situation, that pain circulates through our body, through our psyche, through our spirit, just like our blood. If you begin to put it pen to pad, you can kind of look at it. It's like, well, damn, I was tripping too. Okay, what was my part in it? Okay. Because sometimes when we're angry with people, we forget our part of it, okay? And when you recognize your part of it, you can kind of give people grace. We've lost grace. You know, my grandma used to always talk about give people grace. And I didn't understand it till maybe about 6 months ago, when I had to give somebody some grace that they necessarily didn't deserve. But it wasn't for them, it was for me, because I was like, you know what, I got to let this shit go. I just got to give you some grace on this so we can move forward. Sometimes you got to give people grace so you could just move past it, because you just, but this right here, okay, this shit happened, okay? They probably not going to apologize because they don't know what the hell they did, because you're not grounded enough to articulate your pain through it. So just give them some grace so y'all can move forward and kind of unpack it as you go. You got to be able to unpack as you go. You know, we won't heal it in 5 minutes, okay? We throw our problem in the microwave, we put it on that 5 minutes, and God damn it, you gonna be healed at the ding. It don't work like that. Don't work like that.
You ain't never lied, China.
You know, and guess what? After the end of this quarantine, or whatever you want to call it, you probably still gonna be upset. At least you give yourself the opportunity to get in there and move some stuff around. You know, you gotta move it around.
That's real talk. That's real talk. With that, China, when you were in Africa doing the rites of passage, was there anything in there that really stuck out for you that you knew you had to bring back to America, to your community, to your work?
Oh my goodness, there was so much doing that sacred rite. And first of all, I had to check myself, because you know, we African, but we still got some Westernness in us. So when we go visit other countries, we get all in our feelings. Oh my God, I can't believe that they are doing that. Right? So, you know, we get all in ourselves or in our feelings when we want to criticize other cultures. Okay. So I had to check myself. I said, first of all, this is not my space. Okay. I am a guest. Okay. And I'm a guest here to observe. First of all, the ritual and the rite was like 5 or 6 days. Okay. So, and during that process, we were doing different things. And a lot of things I could not partake in because I wasn't pure.
Okay, what does that mean? What does pure mean? What does pure mean?
Well, you know, I got children. So, you know.
Oh, you have already been touched. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I done slapped it up, flipped it, and rubbed it down.
Oh, no.
Oh no! So therefore, I couldn't, partake in certain parts. And you know what I appreciated about that is that they didn't allow you to do it. Because sometimes as Black people, Elder Yusef Suda says, we have the crime of generosity. And when he said that, I said, well, damn. He says, we're always giving away our stuff.
Yes,
we cannot
do.
go to Chinatown. Okay. I'm not finna become a geisha. Okay. That's not finna happen. There's certain things in certain cultures that I'm not privy to. Okay. And I just got to deal with it. And so when I was there doing the rite, they were telling me, well, you got a child, so you can't do this part, but you can watch it because we know you're here training to bring these rituals and ceremonies back. And I appreciated that. I really, really did. I was like, you know what? That's what makes it sacred because everybody can't do it.
Right on.
So yeah, there's several parts. Of course, I don't want to talk about it, via web with it because it's sacred.
I get
there are different things that I was like, we have to do that. But there is one thing I will share that I loved about the ceremony is at the very end, when the young women crossed over and the ritual was done, they have what is called the family mat, okay? And so the family mat is there and the family is surrounding the mat and the girls are coming down off the mountain and they've completed the ceremony and the family is cheering their names and they're singing and they're dancing and it's this whole celebration and congratulations to the young woman. And I was like, man, that's like super dope. Like it was overwhelming. And once the young woman is placed on the family mat, so this is a mat that's been passed down from the mother who's went through the rite, the older sisters, the auntie. This mat is the family mat, right? So the young woman is placed on this family mat, and they're singing and they're dancing, and it's like this big old party at the end. And I was like, yo, this is dope. This is real dope.
Wow.
And it was 150 young women going through the rite. I was 151.
Wow.
There was 150.
Wow.
And I was just like, yo. And even that was humbling because, the entitlement. A lot of the young girls were like, oh, you can go before me, auntie. No, this is your right. I'm visiting your village. So I literally learned patience because I was 151. So I had to wait till all the girls did their part before I did my part. And then they were rooting me on like, you can do it, auntie. You can do it. You can do it. So, it was a beautiful, humbling experience.
Wow. So in Vegas, I think, I'm just kind of breaking down some of the misconceptions. Y'all have, to me, a strong African community in Vegas. People be shocked. Huh? Well, yes. Y'all have elders. Y'all have like a whole community, which I think is so beautiful. You don't get to see that from the Strip because if you come in to gamble, that's not even where your head is. But I always feel like who you are, you will find. So
that's right.
And finding you all is like all of y'all. To me, I have a very strong African community there. Like this, y'all have culture and roots, and I have to go back to the elders. How important is elders in this system of rites of passage? And just in community.
Okay, so let's start with the rites of passage.
Okay.
So I can't start the rites of passage without permission from the elders. It was one year that I didn't have an elder present, so I had to call an elder on the phone. I had to call a woman, elder on the phone, and say, hey, mama, this is China. I'm about to start the rites of passage. And she was like, oh, hey, baby, how you doing? And blah, blah. And I said, before we start, do I have your permission? And she gave permission. So that right there set the tone for the young women. They were like, well, why'd you have to ask her for permission? I said, because your elders have to give you the nod, the okay that you're doing. That gave me the okay, continue this work, okay? Continue the work, daughter. I see you doing the work. This work needs to be continued. Yes, you have my permission. And so, and in our circle, we pour libation, that's how we start every circle. And so some of the young women like pour libation. I'm like, we got to pour out a little liquor for our home. Okay. And they're like, oh, okay. But I explained to them the African concept to that. Okay, we are
Right
sitting in
on.
circles because women have always sat in circles. Okay, there are countries right now where women are not allowed to sit in circle. So we have to pay homage to the women who sat in circle before us, and this is how we do that: is through libation. And I explain that to them, and I lead it, or Matisha leads it, or Nikki leads it for the first few weeks. But after like week 3 or 4, we no longer lead libation. The young women lead libation, and they make sure that each person in there comes and they pour libation. There have been times I'm running into circle and I'm getting started, and they sitting there looking at me like, we haven't poured libation. We haven't paid honor to our ancestors or our elders, you know. We teach them how to greet people in the community. When you walk into the cultural center and you see an elder, you stop, you speak, you say hello, okay? You hug them, you greet them, you give them a fist bump, whatever it is. And let a young person walk past an elder in that cultural center and they don't greet them. Oh, they about to get it. Not only from the elder, but from their peers, because it's expected, okay? So we teach them the importance of eldership, walking them to their cars, making sure that they're safe, making sure that they have everything they need. Something as simple as you see an elder getting out of their car, going to grab their bag. How was your day? Do you need anything? Having that conversation and understanding that our elders are our living libraries, okay? Elders have already been through this depression, okay? If you sit down with somebody that's 80 years old, they understand how to stockpile groceries. They're going to teach you how to grocery shop. They're going to tell you what meals to get you through this 30-day quarantine. You better get yourself an elder in your life, because they done been through recessions, depressions, and any other essions that this country has put them through.
That's real talk. That's real talk.
They've been through it. My grandmother is 94 years old. Wow. You think I didn't call her? I was like, Granny, okay, this is what I got. Well, baby, you need to go get you some of this, some of that, and that's gonna stretch it. Okay, we got to stretch it. Okay, it's it's real out here right now for some people.
That's real talk. So the things you just talked about, China, were things for some of us, we grew up in that culture. That sounded very Southern. I mean, just all the things you're explaining, elders, greeting them, libation, the respect level. I think some of that got lost in integration. Some of that got lost in the crack era. I think sometimes we kind of gloss over those eras. But we know that that's totally impacted our communities, because some young people say, why I gotta ask somebody for permission? Like, they don't even understand why you do that, because that hasn't been their experience. Have you come across,
That hasn't been their experience. That's not their normal.
Right.
Because, keeping it funky, you can't tell my child what to do. Oh my goodness. Bro, we grew up in a time we did something on the street before we got to the house.
Right.
Mama already knew, because you know what?
Ooh.
Shout out to Miss Downer. She is still living on my dad's block. Miss Downer was the nosiest woman in the world. She got on everybody's nerves. Okay, she would call before she would pick up that phone before I hit that corner. They knew what I was doing on the next block because she could see it. Okay, but I'm grateful for Miss Downer, because you know what? I knew somebody was watching out for me. Okay. I didn't see her. Miss Downer and Miss Marie stayed in the window, okay? They stayed in the window watching over the children in the neighborhood. And they knew who to stay away from. Now, you stay away from that boy over there, because I seen 4 other girls go in that house, too. So you better listen to the neighbor.
Right on. That is so true. So in hearing about this rites of passage, it feels like you get a lot of that. Because I think those old teachings are what's going to help us make it through the so-called new time. Because to me, there's nothing new under the sun. I think what other cultures build on is what's something that has been lost in us. Even though black folks, it feel like in America, we're constantly always in a building. Somebody said once, black folks are always behind the 8 ball. And it can get tiring sometimes when you're constantly behind the 8 ball trying to plan. But I also think we have great resources in our community through a lot of our elders who can kind of tell us how to survive. You're absolutely right. Even though I hate beans to this day, because we ate so much beans growing up, I cannot stand the bean. But I made some lentil soup. But I will eat like Javon's navy bean soup, because she makes it really well. I'll eat that. I'll eat some Cuban beans, black beans. I'll eat that. But I mean, I grew up eating beans. but we made it through. We never had a hungry day.
That's what I was about to say. We weren't hungry, as my nephew said. I'm not hungry. May not be what you want, but you're full.
Right on. That was definitely my life. It's like, I may not like it now, but I will eat it. I'll eat the broth or something. But I just feel like those are the lessons. And it's funny because I'm watching people scramble also too, because partly they refuse to want to remember that. I think we keep trying to create things that's already been created. And because you won't take time to sit still to think, or how did somebody made it through this experience already? Ain't nothing new for us. I mean, we like to think we're doing something new. You know, as human beings, we're so funny because we think that we invented everything.
Oh, yeah. It's the first go round.
Yeah, but it's like, no, somebody, my Uncle Stanley, blessed in memory, you know, he used to always talk about, you know, growing up with all his sisters and brothers and having deaf parents and how they made it through. They had there was like 12 of them or something like that, 9 or 12 of them. But I just feel like sometimes we forget to draw that knowledge and that wisdom from our elders. You know what I mean? So with that being said, China, what advice would you give to folks who are trying to find their way back to that part of who we were?
Everything you need or want or desire is already in you. Okay. Taking this quiet time, we have what's called DNA memory. Even before I traveled to the continent of Africa, I was doing the sacred ritual. I was doing things over here, and I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but this just came to me. You know, we say that a lot. Something told me. Okay, that something told me is your ancestral DNA. Okay, so quit saying something told you. The something is your ancestors. Okay, they there. Okay, they sitting at the feet of Olodumare, God. Our ancestors sit at the feet of God. Okay, they take this earthly wisdom with them on the other side, and they're working for us on our behalf. Period. Okay. So when you, as a human, say something told me, you need to take a moment and acknowledge that that was your big mama or your parents on the other side. That's that something. So we have ancestral DNA in us already. We just got to sit down somewhere to hear it. Okay. We have to hear it, and we have to acknowledge it for what it is. So when I went over to the continent and I'm sitting in, you know, the ceremony with the Queen Mother and the elders, I'm like, well, damn, I was doing this, didn't know why I was doing it, but getting the explanation from them on why we're doing it and actually see them doing it was refreshing. It was like, man, that ancestral DNA, it's real, it's in us. So everything you need is already in you. Okay. If you want to be a village, you got to make your own village. You got to, you know, you want to be sister, you have to first show yourself to be sisterly. Okay.
Right on.
You want to be a friend, you have to show yourself to be friendly. Okay. So you can't ask for a village and then be closed off. Why they calling me? Why they checking on me? Why they all in my face? Well, that's what the village and the family is supposed to do, is to check on you, to be in your face, to make sure that you are okay. So you desire those things, you have to be those things that you desire, because that's a frequency and a vibration. I moved to Las Vegas 20 years ago and didn't know one person, not one person, okay? Now I have an entire village in the family that I am closer to than my blood, okay? Like, there are people in this community who have showed tremendous love and support for me, okay? I'm never gonna forget that. And because they showed it to me, I'm going to show it to the next person.
Right on, China. What made you move to Vegas?
Girl, some man. We just don't keep it real. Some man, okay? But it was a blessing, right?
I know.
Because we don't know. Sometimes we come for one thing, and when we get here, it's a whole nother thing. And I'm so grateful and blessed that I made that move, because I've met amazing people. I've become the best version of myself.
Right on, right on, right on. China, do you have a lot of elders in your community there in Vegas?
Oh my God. We have a council of elders here for whatever you need. You need assistance with your boys, you call Elder Sudai. You need assistance with education. You got a school or administration that's tripping out on you. You call Mother Tolan, who was the first black principal in the state of Nevada. You call her with her 94-year-old self who still know everything. You call Dr. Linda Young, who's an elder that sits on the school board council, and you say, okay, Dr. Young, how do I maneuver through this? Well, this is what you need to say to that administration, okay? We have elders in you got a problem, there's an elder that either started that business way back when or still working there, or somebody there who can assist you. So I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. We are very blessed in Las Vegas to have elders, but we have to make sure that we always call on them.
Right on. What is some of the history of black people in Vegas? Because one year you had a historian come and explain it, and it was just incredible. I was just so blown away with this city in the desert.
So most people do not know that the nickname for Las Vegas is the Mississippi of the West. Okay.
Oh.
It was very, very, very segregated in Las Vegas through what was called the F Street closure, where they literally built a wall between the black side of Las Vegas and the rest of the city. And so maybe about 15 years ago, there was this huge surge to tear that wall down so we could actually drive through. They remember the women abuse place, how they had that wall up at the women abuse place, people beat it down. We literally had a brick wall here. And so, there were so many elders like Elder Bailey, Kimberly Bailey Terrell's father, he was very, very intricate in getting us our black radio station and black media. Those things we did not have here in Las Vegas, We could work on the strip, but we couldn't walk through the front door,
Wow.
The Rat Pack, Sammy Davis Jr. had to stay with elders when he came here, for a while. So he had to stay in the homes of, people. You can go to an elder house right now in Las Vegas, and you can see pictures of them eating in their house, because that was the only place that black people could stay, was with other black people in Las Vegas. So we have a amazing history, entertainment history of the juke joint, So after Sammy and all them would play on the strip, he would take Frank over to the west side, the historic west side, to the little juke joint. And they would turn up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. But you wouldn't notice if you didn't sit at the feet of the elders who were actually there.
Right on, China. Right on. Right on. What are some of the things that happen in Vegas in terms of black folks and the contributions, even beyond entertainment?
One woman, elder, I want to speak on is Sister Ruby Duncan, and I have to tag you in the book that they wrote about her. She led a storm on Caesar's Palace for black women to get benefits, healthcare benefits, education, welfare benefits. Like, these black women marched on the Las Vegas Strip back in the day and demanded, Caesar Palace at that time was a big corporation, demanded that we get work and benefits and all these things for black people on the west side. And she's still living, I was like, she did what? Huge, huge contributions to just the education system here in Las Vegas, creating schools. Our commissioner, Lauren Weekly, here is an advocate for the west side of Las Vegas, making sure we get our due, because they will forget about that black side of town, because they still have that segregation mindset. But we are here, and people are running for office. There's so many black women running for office in Las Vegas for the school board, because they want to make sure that our children are getting what they're supposed to get in specific neighborhoods, that are being overlooked. So not only entertainment, education, politics, healthcare, they're getting it in.
Well, I just shared Sister Ruby. I looked her up real quick, and she was born in 1932 in Louisiana, and had her as an activist fighter for welfare rights for the poor in Las Vegas. She was also the co-founder of Operation Life and the president of the Clark County Welfare Rights Organization. Just a summary. I love to learn about people like that because if you don't know about them, and you think you just invented something, you have to build your foundation off of something, and it can't be thin air because it won't stand. It just won't stand. Right. So give us one more person we should know about in Vegas.
One more person in Las Vegas. Ooh, Sarah Ann Knight Freddie, because I'm a rep to black women.
Yes, okay. Sarah Ann, hold on, because I'm trying to look her up. Sarah Ann what?
Knight, and that's with a K.
Okay.
Preddy, Preddy. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, spell that last name again.
Preddy. Sarah Ann Knight Freddie. Did it come up?
Hold on. No, they gave me some white woman. Sarah Ann Wright with a W, right?
No, Knight.
Knight, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
with a K.
It's like me and Slauson. Okay, it's Slauson. Okay. Sarah Knight. What's the last one again? Knight.
Freddie.
Spell it again.
P as in Peter, Reddy.
DDY. Bam.
Did it come up?
Yes. Tell us about it while I put her on here.
Sarah Ann Knight Freddie was the first black woman to hold a gaming license in the state of Nevada. So she just recently made her transition a few years ago, and her grandson is the artistic director at our cultural center. Her great-grandson is the artistic, So she was a bad mama jamma, back in the day. She was the manager and owner of the Moulin Rouge when it was open during its stint. So definitely look up her.
Okay, yeah, I just shared her stuff on here. She was born in Oklahoma, and it talked about some of her work here, which she did. Learned how to write, do keno, and dealing blackjack, following her second husband. And it talks about a lot of what she did, and she boarded in a license too. Became the first woman of color to have a gaming license. So, bam, got it. So,
boom.
Whoa.
Wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't sit at the feet of elders.
Right on. That's so true. That's so true. Let me ask you this: how do you think we could do a better job of leaving legacy that young people can build upon to get the information?
That's a good question. First of all, we have to first have a little bit of compassion for our young people.
Right on.
They don't know what they don't know. Okay, and I'm going to say that again. They don't know what they don't know. Okay? So, we all had that space where we felt like we knew everything and nobody could tell us nothing. And that gave us a lot of growing pains. But we just have to teach them about people other than Dr. King and Barack Obama and Rosa Parks. You got to bring it to them in their face. Okay. Right. So when I'm in the classroom, I'm talking about Sarah Ann. I'm talking about Ruby Duncan. I'm talking about Walter Mason. I'm talking about Commissioner Weekly. I'm talking about people that they actually can reach out and touch. Sometimes we make stuff so far away from young people. I can't do that. That's just so far away. Well, how about you just bring somebody in from your community who's doing the work and let them talk to them, and they can be like, well, Dad, they came from the same background that I came from. Man, they doing it's more relatable to them than somebody that's in the book. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't give them the book. Give them the information about the other people. But also give them tangible people that they can actually reach out and touch and call later,
Right on. Yeah. So we've been joined by Sister Javon Muhammad. Nah. Hey, Javon.
How you doing?
Don't y'all just love technology?
Hey, sis. Oh, I miss you so much.
Oh, God.
Me too.
Yeah.
I follow you on Facebook, though.
I follow you, too.
Wow. So,
see, even, hold on real quick before I go, even this connection. I met Sister Javon through you, Ro. So see, that connection is always, it's needed, and she's doing amazing things everywhere she goes. You're doing amazing things. Right. So we got to continue to connect each other with each other. Yeah. Keep this network going.
Javon, Sister Sati said, hey, what's up, Javon? Because I can read the comments on Facebook, y'all, because, they don't work like that on here. But also, Brother Jamil said to you, China, he said, my dad knew and worked for Sister Ruby Duncan in his role as an organizer with the National Welfare Rights Organization of our Washington, D.C. office. She was a powerful woman, and we learned of her history early in our lives. So
Yes,
yeah.
right on.
So he was just in I think Jamil is in DC right now. So isn't that beautiful? Like,
Wonderful.
we're so connected. I don't think there's no accidents that we're all doing the work that we're doing because we come from great people who just did the work and they ain't even had all this technology. They was getting
Nope.
it in. You know what I mean? They was getting
have
it
it.
in. So I'll be like, what's my problem? Let's get
Exactly. Let me get my life together.
Right. Right on. Thank you so much, China.
No, thank you for having me. Blessings to the community, and please don't let Auntie Corona out here shake you. Okay?
No, we good. I like that Auntie Corona because it's helping
Okay.
me to get organized.
Dang,
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I chimed in too late because I missed the context for this Auntie Corona.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So explain to her real quick before you leave, China, how you booked that Auntie Corona. I love it.
Auntie Corona is that auntie that see you doing too much, and she came and said, "Sit down."
So here we all are on quarantine.
Yeah.
She said, "Sit down somewhere. You got to get that closet cleaned out. You got to get them goals manifested. You need some chill out time. Get that blood pressure. Take them herbs." The auntie didn't put you on punishment. Okay, y'all remember being put on punishment?
Oh God, I used to hate it.
Okay. But this punishment, we just can't go outside. See, I remember being on punishment. We couldn't talk on the phone. Okay,
Ooh.
couldn't go outside, and you got a whooping. Auntie Corona just said y'all can't go outside, so we gotta utilize this time.
Jay, I know you just came in, but China was telling me how in Vegas, how they shut down the casinos, the slot machines. That's big. I mean, they didn't even do that under 9/11.
Yeah, they shut them down here too. Our casinos are closed. Because think about it, that if you want to transfer some bacteria, it's going to happen, or a virus is going to happen on those slot machines. People are,
Bingo.
some people are touching them. Yeah.
Wow. So
They shut down ours last week.
I think that's
But I
major.
mean, ours is nothing compared to Vegas. It is something when you see the strip, you go down.
Yeah.
You was in a time machine and you jumped and you stepped off today. You'd be like, what the?
But look, they
happened
couldn't
was-
close the Indian casinos though. They probably still out there making money.
Well,
It's their time right now.
that's it's funny you say that because we have marijuana that flies here and we have dispensary, and the only dispensary that is still open is the Native American dispensary. So they getting all the coins.
Yes, it's their time right now.
Because people
They like run me my money.
right on, right on. Thank
They're
you,
like run me my money.
thank you, China. You can stay
And
on if
me
you
my
want to, or you can
coin.
jump off. But you welcome to stay on and jump off. I want to switch to Javon real quick and talk about what's happening in Lake
Thank
Charles.
you so much, bro, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. You're incredible. I have another screen right here, so I'm always looking to the side. So thank you. Bye. Javon, what's happening in Lake Charles? Can you?
I had to have that moment of silence. Do you
Okay.
mean with regards to the coronavirus?
Yes, in regards to coronavirus. Tell us virus. Tell us what's happening there. We heard what's happening in Vegas in the beginning. She talked about that before we went into other stuff. But what's happening? What is it like down there in the southern region where you are?
Well, we were a little bit slow to get cases. So while cases were happening in California, New York, and especially Washington, we didn't have any cases for a while. But it made sense that they were going to come because we just coming out of the Mardi Gras, right?
Oh.
So everybody was, myself included, was in New Orleans, and it was just a matter of time. So we were late to get cases, but we did start getting cases, and that was more in Southeast Louisiana. So all around New Orleans, the first cases came, and then a case came up in northern Louisiana in Shreveport. But we didn't have any cases in Southwest Louisiana in fact, until Wednesday of last week. And so our focus was really on prevention and trying to get organized before we got a case. It only makes sense that there's going to be a case if there's cases in Louisiana and people are traveling all the time. So last Wednesday, Southwest Louisiana got its first case, and that case came from our clinic. We were the clinic to get the first positive, and so now we are all trying to, get into position to be able to address what's about to come here. The person who tested positive here had traveled to Texas and came back from Texas, and she knew she was positive, or without being tested, she kind of knew she was positive, and she had went to 2 ERs and she was turned away, and we did test her, and lo and behold, she was positive. But in those days of not knowing, she had been out and about and to the store and to other people's homes. So we know there's more to come. I think the last I heard, we had 3 cases on Friday here, and so we'll see what happens on Monday. We've been having a press conference every day around noon. And on Wednesday, I participated in that press conference. So it's kind of like a citywide effort to plan for coronavirus. However, like any city, anywhere, anytime, our clinic serves the African American community and the poor community, because the other people will be quick to say, but it's diverse. You don't only serve Black people. That is true. But most of the other people we serve, no matter if they're Latino, if they're white, they're poor. So we're serving Blacks and poors, and having to find ourselves fighting for resources and fighting to be able to care for our community. And I know I spoke with you before, and I was saying, I wish I could say it was because I'm in Lake Charles, but if I was in Marin City, I would be doing the same exact thing, fighting for the residents in public housing and fighting for access to the tests and the resources. So we're doing that here. But it's massive, because if I was in Marin City, we'd be talking about, a 3% of the population, versus here, there's a massive community that we're trying to serve, and we're trying to make sure that they get the, equal access to the resources. And also after that, after the test, because I think we've summed up, this effort into tests. We don't have tests. But also after we get those positives, how do we take care of the person who is positive? What if it's like the woman we tested last week, and she has 4 children and can't take care of them? When our nurse went to drop off her medicine, which we had to pick up because she had no way to get out and get it, her first comment was, I can barely breathe, I feel awful, and I have no one to take care of my children. Wow. So I think when we think about our communities, we're also trying to think about that part. What do we do when we get a positive and that person has no food in the house? Because while everybody is rushing buying up all the toilet paper, there are some people with no money to buy toilet paper, and they get lost in the conversation. While we buying 72 cans of chicken noodle soup, it's somebody who doesn't have the money to do that. And so these are our people, the people that we treat at SWLA, and we are working on that plan. So it's a lot happening. Like to compound that issue, every day we have about 3 press conferences that we have to watch. We're bombarded with emails about the new plan. One moment this closed, the next moment that closed. Now we're doing this. Now you can't go outside. So it's just kind of like staying on top of all of the information that is coming to us so fast. And then the greatest challenge for our staff, is just having access to the protective equipment. Like our nurses don't even have what they need to be able to take care of people, yet they're putting themselves in danger to be able to take care of people. And that really looks different for us, because we have, nurses that are stepping up to be able to serve our community, like specifically, like I want to be here, I want to make sure we get what we need, and they don't have the right equipment. So, every time they do that, we risk a positive with them. And that looks devastating in the next few weeks as the virus really, because see, across the nation, we were struggling with test kits. Like New York did well, or some places, the places with the greater numbers of positive cases did well with the test kits. But the rest of the country is struggling for those test kits. So now that we're starting to get them and we're testing people, there's going to be many more people that come up positive, including the people who took care of those people before they knew it was coronavirus. And then we're going to experience an issue with medical personnel trying to take care of people who are very, very sick, because are though that percentage that are really suffering with coronavirus, which includes those who have comorbidities. So, if you are already sick with some other disease or your immune system is affected and you get coronavirus, you are more likely to be one of those who don't do well.
So,
And it doesn't matter if you're 30 or 100. If you have comorbidities, we know now that 35, 40-year-olds are being severely affected by coronavirus.
so what is the who is the most at risk for this virus, Javon, especially in the community in which you serve? Who are your highest risk population?
So I want to answer that in the way we answer everything, but I also think we're still learning, because until last week there was lots of conversations about that regular group, our elders, pregnant women who always have lowered immune systems, young people who don't have fully built-in immune systems, and then again those of us who are sick with other issues. But I think we're going to keep learning, because like I said last week, there was also a lot of publicity around 35-year-olds not doing well, 40-year-olds not doing well. So, like if you smoke, you could be more adversely affected, because this is a disease that attacks the respiratory system, which is why the conversation is going on about the shortage of ventilators, because your lungs are being attacked. So if you have any issues around your lungs, you're more likely to have a more severe reaction to coronavirus. So, I think now we can say, the healthiest among us will do well. In most cases, those will be the people who go home and have like flu-like symptoms, a fever, suffer through it and get well. But there's a certain percentage who are ending up in the hospitals and overwhelming the hospital system. So the more people who get infected, the more demand on the hospitals, and they have a limited amount of respirators. So there comes a time when you have to decide who gets that respirator and who doesn't. Or excuse me, that ventilator, and who doesn't get that ventilator.
So when there's a shortage, how do we get more? Is that something that we make here in the U.S. or is this something that we have to get from foreign folks? Like, how does that work?
So some are made in the U.S., but like a friend of mine was telling me, we were watching, I think MSNBC the other day, and they mentioned that, is it 70%? 75% of ventilators are made in China.
Wait, what?
75% of ventilators are made in China. This was on MSNBC the other day, so we both sat here and said, how does that work?
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, it is from China. But there are also some places that are less affected. And I was watching the governor of New York the other day mention that they were bringing in some ventilators, and I believe he's pulling them from places with less cases. I looked at the map the other day that they put on CNN, and Africa wasn't having the same experience as the other countries based on those dots they put to indicate where the infection is. So, maybe they pulling them from Africa.
Okay, so Jay, what things could people could be doing to prepare themselves to not get this virus? I'm not really clear on how you get it, honestly. I'm not sure if it's something that's airborne. Is it something that I don't know.
So it's not just in the air, but if you cough, that product of your cough can infect someone. You cough, you put it in your hand, you touch the door, then it lives several hours to days on surfaces, right? So if I cough and I have coronavirus or COVID-19, then I touch the door, it's there. If you touch the door behind me, it's on your hand. If you didn't touch your eyes or your mouth or your nose, it has an entrance into your body. So
Gotcha.
That's why it's so important when they say social distancing, because that virus is going to come from my cough or my sneeze. But coughing is really one of the symptoms, not so much sneezing. But if you were to sneeze, it's still in that product. So things that you can do not to get it. Of course, we've been asked to stay indoors as much as possible. That's one of the most important things you can do, because then you're not out touching a lot of stuff. Then you're not touching other doors. You're not putting yourself in a position to be in close contact with someone who may be affected. Washing your hands all the time. Just because you touch that door, that I touch doesn't mean you're going to get coronavirus. You have an opportunity to go and wash your hands right away. So that's why all day long you should be washing your hands with soap and water. That will clear your hands. We've been passing out hand sanitizer, but hand sanitizer, although it works, if it has 6% more alcohol, it's not as effective as washing your hands with soap and water. So while this is happening, and really all the time, but particularly while this is happening, we should be washing our hands all day long, especially if you're outside the house. You should be doing, because that's going to clear it before you touch an area of your body, which will cause you to be affected.
Okay, so Chris Ann from Philly said Philly doesn't have enough test kits either. And she said she worked at a healthcare center where our staff are at risk for contracting this virus as a result of seeing patients, and we're doing viral encounters or phone prior to scheduling some patients. And so I even know with my Kaiser appointments, I got calls to cancel and to reschedule because there weren't things that were that deep or anything like that. But I guess one of the questions that I'm thinking about is, you mean to tell me somebody, because they say this thing started in China. That's what they say. I don't know. That's what they report on the media. You mean somebody that was visiting China could bring something back like that and it was spread that quick?
Well, that can happen. So large venues, you know how they've canceled large venues around the country? I mean, if you have some people in an event that have that, they're touching the door, they're using the bathroom, they're doing all those things, other people are touching them, then they get it, then they give it. It's the way that we spread any virus. Or,
Gotcha.
it's kind of like you got it, now you went home to your family when you left. Then the people that they affect know a lot of people. That's why you have to stay indoors. But for the healthcare centers, it's something that we're all experiencing. Like, we were limited to ordering 1 box of masks a day. We do 100,000 visits a year. Like, there's no way that we can protect ourselves or the patients with 1 box of masks a day, because technically every time you treat a patient that has symptoms, you're supposed to change. Well, we have nurses that can't change their masks because we don't have enough, and they have to choose to protect themselves. So, across the country, I know our clinic, we have also canceled all non-essential medical visits. There was a directive from the state for dental, so all non-essential dental visits, because that's something we don't even think about. If you get in a filling, think about all of the aerosol that comes up as they're spraying the water. Dentists are very susceptible to contracting this if they're treating patients. So the state here canceled all non-essential or non-emergent dental visits. We also got that directive for medical. Many clinics are starting to do telehealth. Medicaid has allowed us to now, during this crisis, do telephone and telehealth, so the video or the phone, which is a huge help, because those patients that are coming in for things that aren't urgent, we could just talk to them on the phone. I mean, this is something Kaiser has been doing for years, but Kaiser is a self-insured HMO, right? For the rest of us trying to be paid, they didn't allow it. So this is a good time for us to have the opportunity to be able to call our patients, to be able to talk to them on video. We have the capability to prescribe online. So we're rethinking about the way we do medicine. Now, all clinics that I've spoken to, but I'm not sure, it'd be good to know about Chris Ann's, but ours, for staff, anybody who enters the building in the morning, we have a special interest for staff. Everybody has to have their temperature taken. There's a 3-question screening that we're doing across the country. Do you have a fever? Are you coughing? Have you traveled? Or have you been in contact with somebody who has? That's the same thing for the staff as we're doing with the patients. Now, if the patients are symptomatic when they call, because we're trying to have everybody call, then we will arrange for them to go through our drive-through clinic so that we are not taking that risk of exposing people. And so we have a whole protocol around how to do a drive-through clinic and have the least amount of exposure for our staff as possible. But we've been doing a lot of testing through drive-through. And again, our clinic is located, on the north side of Lake Charles, where there's less resources. So most all the other testing opportunities are a great distance from our clinic.
So Javon, are you still dealing with racism in the midst of this pandemic that's happening? Are you telling me? That
I
that's
think it's
still.
always racist. I think it don't go away because coronavirus came. I mean, on our best day, on our best day at any clinic like mine that serves a poor population, a black population, on our best day, we're fighting for resources. Like we're fighting for the opportunity to be included. We're fighting to make sure that we have people to take care of our people, or that they have somewhere to go that where they are treated like a human. Like we're fighting for that anyway. So the coronavirus comes, and then it's urgent, and then you making real life and death decisions. Like I said, if you have 100 test kits and you're a hospital, well, who's getting tested? Like who's out there looking out for the sister that we just tested that had a poor experience, really just because they didn't believe her? And even when she did test positive for coronavirus, started having respiratory problems, and we tried to send her to the hospital. We did not try. We sent her to the hospital. The hospital did not believe her when she came in and said, I have coronavirus.
Wow.
I mean, I think we hear this story all the time, but sometimes it's hard to understand. Like, last year there was a lot of publicity around Black women saying that they're not heard when they come into medicine. Well, this is a textbook case of when a Black woman is not heard. Like, who would lie about coronavirus? Who would go to a hospital and say, I have it? So she was literally told by the nurse and the doctor, like, who told you that? No, you don't. And they called our clinic. They called our answer service. They didn't even believe that our clinic was testing. Like, it's a problem. But it's a problem all the time, but it's on steroids now because people are afraid of coming into contact with coronavirus, and they're going to protect themselves, just like we going to protect North Lake Charles.
Right on. Right on. Wow, Javon. If you're joining us on Sunday Sitting with Sisters, we're now joined by Sister Javon Muhammad, who is the CEO of the Southwest Louisiana, right? That's it, right?
It is WLA.
Oh, okay. See, I broke down. Okay, clinic, and she's also a midwife. So if you have any questions, see, for me around the corona, you can break things down for me, Javon. I would totally understand it, because sometimes you can't tell what stuff. First of all, you got 45 giving directions, so you're like, oh God, is this shit true? But how do you make it make sense? So you just basically explain why we should be washing our hands, how germs really travel, why we, also the fight in terms of making sure that those of us that are poor and Black, either way, can get the resources that we need.
Well, you start with Black and then go poor.
Yeah, I'm
because it's
sorry.
always first a Black thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, because it's a Black thing,
right?
Black people have fought to take care of themselves, because that's the origin of SWLA Center for Health Services. Right. Two Black men started that clinic because no one wanted to take care of Black people. And just like, a post that I read recently, there was a white woman on this Citizens of North Lake Charles group that they have. And when she got a little heat for being out of line all the time, she posted like, North Lake Charles is diverse, it's a diverse community and all this hoopla. And then she got into actually saying, and there are diverse businesses that invest here, Indians, Chinese, and all this foolishness. And I had to respond and remind her that North Lake Charles is not diverse because we wanted it to be diverse. And it's not in the condition that it is because it's diverse. It's in the condition it is because it's Black. And historically, all misfits and those unwanted by their own community have been able to locate in our community. Yep. So, yeah, we take care of poor people, but we take care of Black people, and then everybody else who's not good enough to get services in their own community who are sent over to our community. So we take, that's the beauty of Black care. It's like people always want to, talk about what we don't contribute or what we don't have or what we're drained. But we contribute because we always taking care of everybody that don't nobody else want to take care of. And right in the midst of this crisis, here we are taking care of all the people that can't be taken care of anywhere else, because 41 years ago, two Black men thought enough of themselves to create a healthcare system. And that's what we're trying to protect. We, of course, I'm a human in medicine. I want to make sure everybody is okay. Everybody have to be okay, because in the end, I'm going to be sick if everyone's not okay. But I also want to honor that and say, like, that's the challenge and that's the fight. And that fight gets more difficult when things like this happen.
Right on. Javon, I understand that there's going to be some trials, or they're going to start doing some testing. I tried to listen to the press conference with the president, and he talked about rolling out some trials of some medicine that they think may help against this virus. How do you feel about that, since you work in that industry? Because, you know, we'll be the first person that they'll test shit on. We know that American medicine has a lot to do with black folks because they test everything on us.
But at this point, you know, we also are willing, you know, people. Like, I was just laughing. So we have a group, like a group of brilliant leaders assembled at our clinic that we're working with to address, you know, for our clinic's addressing of this issue. And we were laughing the other day, not that it's funny, but they all know me. You know, I don't get vaccinated. My baby's not vaccinated. My grandbaby's not vaccinated. So I looked at them and I said, in a few months, when this vaccine come out, don't come up to me with a list talking about, did you get your corona, you know, vaccine? I'm telling you right now, I'm not doing that. I'm not, and I'm damn sure wouldn't be the first one to do it, but I'm not doing it anyway. I think there's always money in medicine, and there's going to be a lot of money made right now. And you know, the medicine that they're talking about is a medicine that's already used to treat malaria. It's not a new medicine. So there's lots of evidence, you know, around the treatment of one condition. The question is, you know, how are they going to test it to look at the treatment of coronavirus? I don't know. I just have to watch and see. I really feel strongly against a vaccine coming out now, and I really will be looking at who are the first people to get that vaccine. Unfortunately, like I said, it's difficult to work in our community because we ask for it. You have people saying, no, wait, you know, we want to know this, we want to know that, but we're the first ones asking for those things, and that's an education piece that we have to do better with.
Wow. What about Cuba? I understand that Cuba has a vaccine that works pretty well. Why aren't we taking some direction from Cuba to save some lives? They're going all over the world. They're going to Jamaica, Italy, Venezuela. They send their doctors everywhere, as always. What's that?
I don't know, because I love Cuba. You know.
Hold on. So something changed in there. Okay, go ahead, talk.
No, I said, I don't know, really, you know, I do know, you know, we have an issue.
Hold on, Jay. Your sound just changed. Did you move something, or? There's a muddled sound. Somebody said something on the counter, or?
Is it still going?
It just got louder. It's like you just turned something up or something. See, now it just sounds like a humming sound, like just humming.
Let me go.
Okay, there it is. It's back. You're great.
Okay.
What was that, I wonder? Okay, now you're back. Okay, now go ahead to Cuba. I'm sorry, because I want to make sure we hear your response.
You know that I love Cuba, and I've traveled with you to Cuba and went to their medical system and heard about it. So I think if I was to get a vaccine, it would probably have to come from there, because the way my trust works is, hold on, something's on my screen. I would trust them a little more. I think that Cuba remains pushed out. They've always been pushed out, and it's more so for politics. And then if this is about money, why am I going to let the Cubans get the money? Like, this is about this administration and their rich boys making the money from this pharmaceutical. They're not going to let somebody else get the money. I mean, Cuba's medical system is set up to take care of poor people. America's medical system is set up to take care of rich people. This is going to be all about the money. If Cuba treats us with that vaccine, then there's no financial gain for all of the people who are getting rich right now. Like you saw on the news, or I don't know if you saw on the news, but they started dumping stocks and jockeying for financial position before this even became a pandemic. As soon as they got word of it, they started setting up how they were going to make money off of this. This happens all the time. So Cubans can't really be factored into the American system, because that's just not how they roll.
Wow, that's really sad, because we know Cuba is so like just brilliant with their health care, and they're 90 miles away from the United States, and we should be utilizing them instead of going all the way around the world for something that we know may not even work for us. Like, that's crazy. Javon, how are you keeping safe and your family since you guys have not been vaccinated? How do you keep yourself safe?
I just have been trying to be smart. I don't know that I've been safe. I mean, yesterday we had to go out to a homeless feeding program to give them information and tell them that they had to find food. Like there are other programs that they're going to have to go to because this one is closed. And we did that for a couple of days. And I mean, patients have been, I just been trying to be smart. The same way I'm telling people to wash their hands, I've been washing my hands. You know, I've been trying to stay inside when I can. I've only been out a few times other than work. I've been just trying to do those smart measures, but I can only do what I can do. Like everybody else, you know, where I have a shortage with masks. One of the things that, you know, I am benefiting from is not being in the clinic so much right now. So where those nurses are in there all day, you know, I'm in an admin, so I'm not having that direct care except when I place myself in that direct care. I mean, I have made myself available for the drive-through clinic, or as we get, because we're on a limited staff now, so as we get to a real skeleton crew, you know, I've made myself available to be in OB or to be in the drive-through clinic, but for now, I'm in admin. You know, we have 220 employees, and we're significantly down. Like just in our Lake Charles site, we have 57 people who we told to stay home, and then some more who are telecommuting. So we're trying to keep people out. And then that is in one way making us safe because we don't take the risk of being in contact with all of these other people who have been in contact with people when they were gone. I mean, but there's no magic pill. You just really got to try to eat well, try to keep yourself healthy, you know, boost your immune system. That's really all you can do.
Right on. Sister Jacqueline said, can you speak to the government outbidding states on supplies? Is that true?
Outbidding? I'm not sure. Okay. So the government has given certain states permission to go out and buy supplies on their own. But I mean, I've just been trying to get supplies from, whenever we get information about where supplies are, we're just trying to get them from there. So I can't really speak to that.
Okay. But the mask, Javon, is there a shortage of masks for your, what do y'all do for that? I mean, what do y'all do? So
that's what I was speaking on a little while ago. Like, so the mask that we need is called an N95. And everybody across the country is looking for that mask. I've heard that they're trying to produce them faster. We haven't seen that in the clinic. So we have a shortage in all masks. So the masks that most see people outside walking around in, like especially when they show China and they all have those masks on, those are called surgical masks. Those are really not effective in preventing that nurse from getting coronavirus, but that's what we have. So we've been using those. We've been reusing N95s, which is not what should be done. But that's all we can do. Like for now, you know, our staff is some of our staff is panicking right now and they want to wear masks. So we've given them those surgical masks, but in truth, the surgical mask doesn't fully protect them from the virus, because if a person comes up to the front desk and coughs on you and you have your mouth closed, that's great. But what about your nose and your eyes? You see, so the nurses need shields. They need, if you watch TV and you see the drive-through, you'll see the shield that covers their eyes and their nose. They need a fitted mask called an N95 that protects them. And then they need the clothing that you see them, you know, they need things on their arms and their body. So the mask is, I feel, our greatest challenge right now. And the shield, some people are bringing in goggles. You know, we are doing what we can, but yes, there's a shortage on all masks, even the surgical mask that has a little bit of protection, but it doesn't fully protect.
Wow, that makes so much sense. In people's homes, when people are staying isolated in their homes, should they be, so we know about everybody buying the toilet paper and Lysol and whatever. What things could people do naturally to keep their environment clean, Javon?
Just clean it with bleach or you know, the spray down Lysol products. Just keep wiping up. It's the same thing like if we would do, like I'm talking about at the clinic, when we wiping the handles down and stuff, keep your counters and stuff clean, and just wipe frequently. That's all you can really do.
All right, that makes sense. Wow, Jay, I always learn a lot when you're on here because you're so knowledgeable. And the beauty of you being knowledgeable is that you're in a position where you can really help people and share that knowledge. As we wrap this up, is there anything more that you wanted to share in terms of what you think we should know about how to keep ourselves safe during this virus?
I just think that in general, we have to become a healthier community. Like when this is over, because this will pass, just like everything else passes, and we pray it passes and we're all safe. But when this is over, we need to talk about being a healthier community, because again, the people who get the sickest, some of them are people who have other diseases or conditions like hypertension, like diabetes. And our community is so affected by these ailments, like we really are. And when we're well, or when I say well, I mean when we're not dealing with something like the coronavirus, when the times are good, we don't address that. We keep on with unhealthy behaviors. And those behaviors just generally affect our community negatively, because they just impact the health system all the time. But when something like this happens, it's devastating, to us people with comorbidity. So I think we have to have a continuing conversation about how to make Black communities healthier, because that impacts the entire community. It impacts our mental health. It impacts, the resources that we have in our community, because we're going to work more. Like, it just, so many things are better when we're healthy, but we have to talk about that a little bit more all the time, so that when these things come through, we're in the best position to protect ourselves. And we don't always, because we're doing better financially and mentally, we don't always have to think about other people taking care of us. Like, there has to come a point when I'm talking to you. Hopefully, I've been talking to you for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, one of our conversations is going to be that time when we have all the resources we needed to take care of ourselves, because we learned something from all of this. It's ridiculous that we at the store getting into fights over toilet paper. Yeah. Like when we always, in that revolutionary talk, it's always talks about what you gonna do, how you gonna store stuff, your survival kit. But in truth, like, we don't do that. And so then when something happens, we have full meltdowns when we should have been prepared anyway, when we should have been thinking about this anyway. Like, has there ever been a time, okay, this is a pandemic, but when the pandemic isn't there, has there ever been a time when our community wasn't under attack? Has there ever been a time when healthy things were put there? Like, I feel like we are always in a constant state of war with the outside people, and then with ourselves, with all of our ridiculous practices against each other. We're just always in a state of war. And so I hope that, just like when President Trump won and Black folks was having a meltdown, and then some people had to remind him that we've been dealing with him this whole time, he's just in a different face, you know what I mean? Like, Trump always been here. Like, but he caused some people to get shooken and do some things. I hope the same thing happens from this. I really hope we're well. I hope across the country we start talking to each other. So I run a clinic. I would love to be in conversations with other people like me, so we can talk about how we can be connected and make sure we have masks the same way that other organizations do. They make sure that they're taken care of. I want to see those things start to work for us, instead of us always panicking. And then when we panic, it's like, Mr. System, what are you going to do for us? When you got people there all the time fighting for that, like, fighting to set something in place.
That's real talk. Pregnant women, does this affect them as well, or no? I didn't even cover that.
So I've read that it's not, that their babies are going to be fine, but I mean, they can still be affected with coronavirus. I just really think that a lot of things I'm telling you based on what we know about other things. Right. I feel some kind of way, I'm a conspiracist, and I just feel some kind of way about the coronavirus, because we get one set of information and then we'll turn on the TV and then you'll see that drive-through in New York and it looked like they treating Ebola. Like, you see this outfit that they have on and you're like, wait a minute, like what is this really? So, for now, it would be the same precautions. Pregnant women, like elders or nursing homes, they really have to protect themselves because part of pregnancy is having a lowered immune system so that your immune system won't attack your baby. So when you have a lowered, you don't have what you need to be able to fight a threat. And so they would be on extra precautions, like don't go out the house unless you have to. This is a really, really, really good time for midwives. I know Asatu is on the line. I've been talking to Kiki, but right now is the time when you go out and show and prove. Like in this time when women shouldn't have been at the hospital with all these sick people, we went in and we looked after the women. We didn't, and they had us exposure. So I think, and I'm hoping across the country, this is the time that midwives are showing what we really do, how we protect women, how they don't have to leave the house. You can be at home and, bring your baby into the world in life, in cleanliness. Somebody had posted on one of my posts, well, what about, at least at the hospital, it's safer now because they can clean up well between patients. You can clean up your whole house well and not leave. Everybody can come in and wash their hands. And, what safer place to be. So I think pregnant women have to be smart. Again, what do you do when you're pregnant and you're on WIC and you need your WIC and you can't get your food and you wish you could stay at house, but you can't because you got 4 babies, and there's always that extra layer of stuff that comes in our community. And I hope that midwives right now are addressing that. And then again, like I said, we're trying to address that. We have wonderful caseworkers at SWLA, and our caseworkers are on it. When we test a person, not when they're positive, when we screen and test them, we talk to them every day until they get that result. And we have nurses and caseworkers that are doing that, and they're just making sure they're okay, because it's something. To think you have coronavirus, get a test, somebody say, go home and stay in the house, and I'll call you in 5 days. Because that's around how long the test is taking now, 5 days. And you in the house watching the news, seeing these people dressed up in white, seeing people go to the hospital and die, and nobody checking up on you. Like, the conversation should be, what if you are positive? What do you need that you don't have right now? What can we be doing? You're probably not positive. But what happens? What does that look like after? So we're trying to do a little bit of that work. We are doing behavioral health by using telemedicine and phone calls. Anybody, we decided during this time that one of the barriers to health is to get a test at another facility where they have more tests at the hospital. You have to be referred by a provider, your primary care provider. And the referral has to be primary care provider to primary care provider. So you had to have a doctor, your doctor called a doctor and speak up for you and ask if you can get a test. They can still say, no, that's not priority based on our criterion, right? So what we did when we went on the press conference last week, we said, if you don't have a primary care provider, we will be your primary care provider. No matter who you are, you can use telemedicine. You can call into us. We will register you. We will screen you, and then we will call for you. So those are the type of things that we just have to start being creative and making sure people have access to testing. But we also have to think about the what ifs. They're positive. If it's a homeless person and you test them and they're positive, what do? You send them back out on the streets? I think you should rest, socially, isolate yourself. What do? You have to put them somewhere. You have to watch them. And then you have to remember that they don't have nothing. So you have to feed them. Like, what do you do? And I believe that's where the ideas around martial law and things like that happen. Because how do you stop them from moving? Like, when it becomes a full public health crisis, how do you stop them from moving?
Sister Tina said, have you heard anything regarding cases and babies?
No, I was watching CNN, and they said that, well, she's talking about after the baby's born. I haven't. I was watching something the other day, and they were like debating whether or not a mom should breastfeed. And then I was screaming at the TV, like, breastfeed your baby. Do it. Just don't let these people tell you not to breastfeed. Get whatever immunity you can. But I haven't heard of any babies. That's not to say there are none that are infected, because there, could be a mom that infected the baby, or anybody else that was touched. I haven't heard of it though.
Okay.
But breastfeed your baby.
That's real talk. That's real talk, Sister Javon. Well, look, thank you so much. I love it. Every time I call you, you're always available. You always give great information, great relatable information where we can really understand it. Because sometimes when you watch a lot of these news, it can really get you inside your head where you're like, oh, you think the sky is falling down outside. And it's like, dude, if you wash your hands and like you're supposed to and clean up and use some soap and water. My mom always used ammonia and bleach and stuff like that. I thought I was going to pass out, but our house was clean.
When you wash your hands, wash for 20 seconds. I think they said like happy birthday, that song is 20 seconds, but wash your hands. But it can't be like put your hands underwater.
No.
It has to be wash your hands.
And I heard you're supposed to get them fingertips. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
All the stuff you touching, and then it just lives under the nail bed. So wash your hands all the time.
Right on. I'm thinking of Senator Holly Mitchell put a video together where she did that. I shared it and she washed her hands singing, I think it was Happy Birthday. And it was like 20 seconds or something like that. But the way she did it was, and she kept like, how you would do as a surgeon. And when surgeons scrub underneath those nails. And for those of us who I have nails on to protect my real nails because I'm a nail biter. I don't know what we going to do when these nails need to be retouched up. Guess we're going to be living our true real life because we have to take these damn nails off. But ain't nobody going to see it. You're going to be in the house. So it don't even matter. Anyway, thank you, Javon. What you going to do the rest of your Sunday in Lake Charles? How's the weather there? Because it's beautiful here.
So I'm just in full disclosure. I was running. I woke up at 11:26 today. I was like, oh Lord. I gotta be on at noon. So it looks a little gray from my windows. I just got me a little baby Doberman Pinscher. So I might take it for a walk. Cause I can still walk at the lake, but I ain't gonna be walking with a lot of other people. But just probably myself, my dog, and my grandbaby. And then come back.
Well,
I ain't really doing nothing.
Yeah, I know yesterday me and Christy was walking on the trail and then we seen it looked like something after the apocalypse when people come out their house. It was like hella people. It was like, we got to get away from them. It was like hella people walking on the trail. And we was like, that's too many. So that's too many. That's more than 6 people out here. So we had to speed up our walking pattern. But it was like the Walking Dead when people just kind of start venturing out like people with their kids and stuff like that. So whatever you do, have a great day, Javon, and thank you so much. I'll be in touch with you again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care. Peace, fam.